Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to call the meeting to order. We'd like to start off with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so before we get started, we have some new apparatus. You need your mic on. We have some new microphones, and we have with us our sound man, Dave Talbot. He was going to be possibly making some adjustments as we go for you folks at home. So we have a few people listening at home. You all do not have to call in to let us know anything. But we have a few people listening at home so that the feed will we'll know exactly what's going on the feed. So bear with us. There may be times during the meeting we may stop, make a few adjustments, and we're going to go from there. Okay? All right. So, roll call. We don't have a town clerk tonight, so I'll do the roll call. She started. She's alphabetical order, or does she just do it any way she does?
I think she just reads it across the top of the sheet.
Oh, okay, here we go. Councilman Albrecht.
Here.
Councilman Mazzella.
Here.
Councilman O'Hanlon.
Here.
Councilman Reifenberg.
Here?
Supervisor Del Vecchio here, and Town Attorney Emily Svensson. Here. Along with Warren Raplansky.
Here.
Okay, all present. Move to adoption of the agenda as written.
Second, before we vote though, can we have a quick discussion? Is there any way we can, I know like resolutions and stuff would have to go under items for special consideration, but would anybody be against adding a discussion item number 11 for Bower Park?
For which one?
Bower Park.
Sure.
It's just a discussion, just because we're at a workshop, so. Do you want me to make a motion for that, or you guys just, what, you want me to?
Go ahead.
I make a motion to amend the agenda, adding number 11 under new business discussions. We could just title it Bower Park Land.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay, you second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then accepting the agenda as is now with the addition. Do I hear a motion?
You already did that?
Already did it. And a second, do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Receipt and acceptance of minutes of the last meeting, which I believe was sent to us.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence, all official correspondence is in file on the town clerk's office. And tonight we have oral committee reports and presentations. CPL on the new town hall. Greg Bullner, Mr. Bullner, you're up first. Go right on up to our.
I think everybody may already have this, but I'll go ahead and pass it out.
Thank you. Yeah, sure.
Works good now.
Thank you, sir.
Did you take one more?
Just talk.
Thank you, Supervisor. Greg Bolner with CPL. I brought tonight a revised proposal based on our discussions at the last town board meeting. There was a discussion to kind of break this up into two priority phases, if you want to call that. Priority one being the pre-demo assessment, which would be the asbestos abatement assessment, the evaluation of the well, the structural evaluation, and unfortunately, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting one of them, but I put them in bold to make sure the performance of the code review for the fire to determine whether or not a fire sprinkler system would be required. So we're gonna do those things first in the proposal, get back to the town so that the town can then go forward with the determination that they want to either go forward or not. I don't want this to sound however it might sound, but I did receive an email from the Climate Smart people today. They're kind of frustrated that the town hasn't moved forward with that grant. The grant actually expires in March. I spoke to them March of next year, 2024. I spoke to them about an extension on that grant, and they were, you've got to really come back to us with a scope and schedule. We want to know. We don't want to just extend the grant, considering that this was approved in 2020 and the town has not made progress. So I'm not trying to make that as a threat, but that was the email that I received today. They really want to see, and I explained to them, that the town, had some evaluation that they did in the last 2 years, that they were looking at potentially going with another building, and they're now back to what I believe is pretty direct schedule and idea of what the town wants to do. And I understand the town wanting to get this evaluation, but, to make that final decision. But I think the Climate Smart grant people are looking for direction and progress towards a final goal.
This was the $860,000?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So, anyway.
Okay.
But that's the status. Questions?
I just want to say thank you for breaking up this way, because it looks like, if I'm reading it right, it's like 45,000 to get all the testing and stuff done. And after those 4 items are done, basically, we would have a good idea if there's any big
Surprise.
gotchas. And then the board would at least have a good idea of, okay, is this going to cost a lot more than what we initially had? Or is this what we were planning on, and just move forward? So I appreciate you taking the time to split it up that way.
No problem. I understand that the town needs to make a educated decision before you commit to spending this kind of money. I
Yeah.
completely understand that.
So I guess my question is, Emily, can we have you guys draft a resolution?
Well,
Yeah.
I think
Did you want to?
Warren wanted to express a few things.
Well, so we just wanted to gather the information about what's been done so far on this project, which I reached out to Mary Beth, and she sent me the resolution when the town approved buying the property and, undertaking the renovation. And she's going to send me some more when she's back. And we also need to know a little bit more about the financing so that we can do the resolution properly. So maybe, we don't have to talk about it right now, but after the meeting, maybe Melanie could get us a report on what's been spent so far and what funding sources are allocated for this? Yeah. Is there more, Warren, to share this?
Yeah, that's one of the notes I had. I wanted to take a look at the Climate Smart grant, so if you could send me a copy of that. So I think between now and the next meeting, Emily and I will put together a contract, a resolution approving your contract. I might want to have a contract a little bit more formal in form than the letter.
Okay.
But if the numbers are okay to the board, then we can move forward with that and have that ready for you to pass at the next meeting. And then we need to get up to date on certain things such as the engineering cost and the surveying cost and the seeker review cost to date, so we get a handle on how much we've actually
Okay.
spent on this project. But we'll have all that for you for the next meeting.
Anyone hear that?
What do you hear?
It's like, it's starting to chirp in this room, like there's a little too much gain.
Okay, so we're going to be fixing as we go.
Chirp in the room here. You hear that? I heard it for a second. I turned my mic off, so I bet you have to turn it back on.
Okay, we'll work on it.
Yeah.
I
Don't answer it. That's an old joke.
I'm not sure if it's feedback or my tinnitus, so don't ask me.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, like I'm explaining to the folks at home, this is, we're gonna get through this tonight, and we're gonna make sure that the sound is correct, so. You hearing it again?
Dave, it's as you're walking around the room, you're providing feedback from your phone.
Yep.
No, your phone's, oh, okay.
That was a nice try, though.
That was a nice try.
Can you still hear the feedback? Can you still hear? Okay,
Okay.
all right.
All right, thanks, Dave.
We'll just continue on, and you just do your thing. So we'll get Emily, and we'll get you everything you need.
Yeah, we'll have that for
Greg,
you
if
by
you
the
can
next
send that over to them, that'd be great. And anyone have any other questions for Mr. Bullner pertaining to the next?
Was there anything else on the agenda you need me to stick around for?
I don't think so. I think it was just really this breakdown was what you needed. Sound and lighting.
The switch is over in the corner. Those dials in the corner.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it.
Bye, Greg.
Well, there may be a question.
They're asking if they can ask, well, actually, honestly, Greg, do you
Yes,
have 10
you might
minutes to
as well.
stay? Because we're gonna open the agenda. We're gonna, okay. Yeah, we're gonna open it now anyway.
And the town hall is the first on the agenda, so I
Yeah,
think that's
so-
where we put it down. Yep.
I make
So I'll make a motion that we open the, meeting to agenda items.
Do I hear a second?
Mary, second.
Second.
All right, Mary, second, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
So we're opening the meeting up to folks on agenda items only. And the first, well, if you have any questions for Mr. Bullner, let's stick with those if we can. You have to go to the microphone like usual.
Dave, we're good. That killed it. That did it.
You're kidding.
It is what it is.
Kathy Kruger, Pleasant Valley. There was, I can't remember what board meeting it was. It wasn't too long ago, maybe 2 or 3 board meetings ago. I thought we were getting an asbestos test done. Is that not been,
Has not yet been authorized. So we
how long does it, what does it take to get it authorized? You have to get,
That's the money we're talking about that we're gonna approve next meeting.
Right.
Yeah, I think what you're
Yes.
probably I had brought it up a couple meetings ago, that it could be a big cost, so maybe you remember that. And then, I think that ended up generating this, but I don't think anybody authorized it actually to happen yet.
But I did take a gentleman from one of the abatement companies through the buildings so that he could get an idea and give us an estimate.
Okay.
And
because it just seems like we're just sitting here and not getting anything accomplished. Not that that's your fault, but where are we going? What steps need to be done? I mean, it just seems like we're just kind of stalled and not making any resolutions or getting any bids or.
So,
Okay.
yeah, why don't you go
Okay,
ahead,
I'm
Nancy?
sorry.
So that is basically the purpose of this. So I had the initial phase of the proposal was to do, quite a bit of work. And what the town board asked is if I could break out the key items, which was the asbestos abatement review, the code review on whether or not a sprinkler system would be required, the structural evaluation to make sure that there were no major structural issues, and then the evaluation of the water and sewer system, because the town wanted to have a complete understanding of the total cost, because those were items that I had identified in my cost analysis as being up in the air until we have these analysis. And so now they're looking to get an authorization to approve that so that we can do that analysis, get back to the town, so that then the town has all of the information that they need to then make the decision that they want to move forward with the project and spend the other costs that it's going to require to do the architectural design and et cetera, et cetera. Does that answer?
Mr. Vito?
Gary Veeder, Pleasant Valley, Pleasant Valley, Salt Point Turnpike. Weren't some of those things addressed initially with, when we looked at this?
Go right ahead. We need two podiums and two
I
microphones,
found-
one on either
I
side.
found no record of any asbestos abatement or pre-demolition survey being done prior to the structural. The structure of the building is sound. What we're looking at and what we're saying is a key item is based on the proposed renovations to the building, because we are creating some upstairs spaces that would be categorized as storage or assembly. We need to look at whether or not the structure can support that use, or whether or not there needs to be improvements. And because those two spaces sit above the main meeting rooms, those are rooms that aren't going to have a lot of anyways, it won't have supporting walls in that lower floor, so we need to make sure that so that was the structural. And with regards to the well and septic, I know that I think there was basically a look at the fact that there is health department approval of the well and septic. What we're looking at is what is the current status of the effectiveness of that well and septic. They've both been out of service for 5+ years. We just want to make sure that that doesn't become come back to the town, we need to drill a new well, or put in a new septic, which those aren't huge, but they could be. And we just want to make sure that that's evaluated. I think I touched on all of them, but those were not evaluated in the initial evaluation by the town.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Bollner pertaining to the building? Greg, I think you're good now.
Thanks. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg.
So we are open to all agenda items, so if anything you'd like to speak on, anyone?
Okay. The impetus for all this is Mr. Riffenberg was the one who suggested several board meetings ago that just because something has been done before or all along doesn't necessarily make it right. And I'll agree with that. So what I want to know is that I've asked some questions, not last board meeting, but the board meeting before that, of what was going on in Helen Aldrich. And then Mr. Delvecchio asked me to send an email that he was going to give to the lawyer, and she said she was going to get back to me. And then 2 weeks ago when we had our meeting, she was too busy or whatever, and so now I still have not received, it's been over a month, any of the answers from you to the questions that I asked about Helen Aldrich. Now, as Mr. Riffenberg said too, is that, we do pay our tax dollars, and I just feel like, it's been over a month since these questions have been posed, and no results whatsoever, and I don't think that's fair. I think that, we help pay your salary with our taxes, and we should get answers to questions that we are asking.
Okay.
I'll be happy to answer that. So the town attorneys, as you know, are here to advise the board, and we took those questions, and last meeting, I said that we would have answers for this meeting, and we do have answers for this meeting. So when we get to that item on the agenda, we'll be happy to go over those issues for the board. Yeah.
So I should not be asking those questions now, I should wait?
No, it was on the agenda, I guess, but we'll have the answers when we get to it, so they'll probably answer some of your questions from before, so.
All right, so
You'll have another opportunity, well, not.
do I have another opportunity to ask if I didn't get all the questions I asked answered?
Let's just wait and hear what they have to say. They might answer all your questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else, agenda items only? Not seeing or hearing any, I move we close the meeting to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so new business discussions, town hall, we've already did a little bit of discussion on that. Anyone have anything else to add?
No, I just have, let's pay Greg so we can figure out if we're gonna move in, and when we can move in. I mean, I like this plan a lot better than I've done any other prior, I would say.
I think he's done a great job.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay. Anyone else?
You know, this may be a little bit ridiculous seeming to all you guys, but doesn't it give you the feeling that we can't get out?
We can't.
I mean, I really hate to bring that up, but, you know.
Yeah, no,
We can, there is emergency exits there. It's enough-
Where is it?
They're in the front.
But that's where the only other door is.
Listen, you should have asked him that question when he was here. I didn't design it.
I'm thinking to myself,
yeah,
there's
oh,
no
I didn't
other
think,
door.
yeah, that's in the hillside too.
I thought this was a door up here, it's a closet.
Yeah.
There's like 3 doors on a closet.
So I'm guessing they're going by what they're allowed to use. You're supposed to have 2 entrances to any building, any room. And I think that's what he's using. So there's 2, there's 1 on the side and 1 out the building itself. In the front, there's an emergency exit, just like this would be here.
Well, these are nice.
Well, this is for your getaway, Mary. This is.
Oh, fine. That'd be the first one.
Well, Mary, would you like it
I
better
beat
if
you,
maybe?
Warren, I can tell you that.
Just so you know, these are very preliminary plans.
Right, they're preliminary. so-
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
After the engineer does the additional work, his task, if we move forward with the project, will be to do much more detailed plans and specification building plans, which the town will then use to put the project out to bid. And then we'll have a much better idea of how much it's cost. So if there are doors are missing, we'll put those doors, make sure those doors are put in there.
All right.
Anyone else on a new town hall? Anything you want to say?
No, I think maybe what Mary's looking for is even like if and it wouldn't be extensive, and that closet storage should just have a second door to pass through, like going over by the restrooms.
But like Warren just said, this is preliminary. We can move on from there. These are just touched upon.
You might want to bring that up to Greg now, though, because if he's doing the structural analysis, like if
That might make
you're
it-
gonna add another opening, he might want to know that.
I'll email.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Okay. Anything else? Justice audits. Okay. So I think it's just practice, I guess, when a justice leaves.
Yep.
We're supposed to audit his office or whatever, so I think we need to do that. However, we're now without a separate audit company, since our 2 companies that we used merged.
Yeah.
So now we have to find somebody and then have somebody do that. So I believe we're gonna put together an RFP for that, correct? Or do we need to, or I'm talking to Emily?
We don't, as far as, I don't think we need to for an auditor.
Thank you,
But, well, I don't know, she looked at, but I think it's good practice. I mean, I think we should, but we don't have to.
Do we need to go and put out an RFP for another accounting firm to do this?
You don't necessarily have to have
Okay.
the audit. It's a decision, we can advise you of your alternatives
Okay.
for doing that, but you're not required by law to have an outside auditor.
Well, I think the question beyond that is whether, if they do want to have one, whether it requires a RFP.
Yeah.
And because it's a professional service, I don't think it does. If you could put out a call for proposals if you wanted to, get some
That's an idea.
So
applicants.
currently, we need one to actually do our audits, okay, which is outside from the thing, which could also be used for the audit of the.
For justice.
Of the justice. So it should be an RFP or no?
You don't need to do it.
We don't need.
You don't need, because
So what do we need to do to attain a new, an outside agency or audit?
I think it's called a call for proposal. We put together what we need, and we send it out to people, and if they want to respond to it, they can.
Okay. Put it out.
I'll help you draft one of those. Because, we already know what we require in the last year's RFP, so I'll help you draft that
Okay.
letter.
And that goes also for the townwide audit, so these are kind of like linked a little bit.
Yep.
All right, so that's what we'll do. Paving Ward Road and Clinton Avenue. We have with us our highway superintendent. He put together a little proposal for us. This has been something that has been talked about many, many times in the past, and I think it's actually the right moment in time.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, turn that microphone on there, buddy.
Gotta turn that mic on.
Sorry.
That button's nice.
So as you see, where the heck did I just, what the heck did I do with my, oh, dumb. I know that you guys all on the board all got a copy of the numbers that I put together for the paving of Ward and Clinton. The estimated cost to pave it's around $340,000 as the indexes are now with paving. Hopefully they're gonna stay the same and even come down a little bit sometime in the near future. With that being said, the average lifespan of the road is approximately 20 years. Given that Ward and Clinton are not high-traffic roads, probably get a longer term out of it. There's other things we can do to help prolong the life of the road, and 5 or 10 years you can, I know it's not very popular with a lot of people, but you can do what they call chip seal. You can oil it and chip it, and that can add anywhere from 5 to 10 years to the lifespan of the road, and it's a very inexpensive thing to do. As of right now, so far this year, Ward and Clinton has cost me about $25,000 to maintain, and the year's not over yet. We've used over 1,000 tons of material because unfortunately last year was an extreme year with ice. Ice tears up roads, especially dirt roads, and it's horrible, and it's hard to stay on top of. We did the best we could this year, and they were a mess. It seemed like every time we dumped 100 tons, we'd go up there the next day and it was gone. We spent not quite a month on the 2 roads this year, but close so far. At one time, just getting them ready after the winter was over. We maintained them through the winter. We're up there several times. So with the numbers that I have as of right now, if we were to pave Ward and Clinton Road at a cost of around $340,000, given the 20-year lifespan of the road, we would save in time, materials, manpower, wear and tear on the vehicles, approximately $1 million over the course of 20 years. That being said, the caveat to that is 20 years from now, paving's probably going to be 20 years more expensive. But in the interim, as of right now, with the prices based on what they are, that's about what we're looking to save. You figure on top of that, the average mile of road, we average when we're plowing, let's say like 18 miles an hour on the average road in the town of Pleasant Valley, depending on the road width and size. When we plow Ward and Clinton, we can only plow like 3 or 4 miles an hour. So instead of making one pass, we have to plow up, we have to plow back, then the plow driver has to turn around again and sand up, and then come back and then do the same thing on each road, because you can't, at that speed, if you had your sander going, you would dump your whole load of salt and sand just plowing up in one direction. So time-wise, salting and sanding would also save a lot of man hours as far as that's concerned as well. I know there's some concerns with, some of the citizens that are on the road. Some are on board. Still trying to reach out to some of them that I haven't spoken to yet, just so I can try to get everybody on board. But I think, again, over the course of the next 20 years, it would benefit the town to try to get these roads paved.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What, if we were to magically find money today, how long till you could pave it?
Depending on the time frame and the schedule of Peckham, who's been doing our paving, if, I don't know, magically you gave me the money, let's say tomorrow, here's a check, probably within the next month, depending on what Peckham's
Okay, so
schedule
you can
is.
get it done before the winter.
Yeah, it could definitely be done before winter, and that would save us, again, a lot of time and
I
money,
know.
and,
So I'm getting at.
and, so.
Okay.
John, you're not talking about it all, because I know this was a concern, just to make sure, and it's clear for everybody. Expanding the road out, taking down
So I am,
trees.
we're not gonna widen the road. We've looked at the road, and actually, Greg, our engineer, and I are gonna go up and look at some spots that I have a couple of questions about, just to make sure that everybody's on the right page. I'm not taking out anybody's yard, not cutting down anybody's trees.
There's one or two spots where there's some overgrowth where it's just open property. It's not, just so we can get through and make the road, but I'm not gonna widen it, make it a racetrack. It's gonna be done with what they call a baby binder. So the aggregate of the road will actually be a little thicker, so it won't be like that nice smooth surface you see on our highways. So it'll still stay like a country lane. I'm gonna put speed limit signs up, not that, I know, it's kind of the joke of speed limit signs, but, and we're not gonna straighten the road out. It's still gonna be twisty and turny, and it's still gonna be narrow. So the fact of, can I say nobody's gonna speed on it? Of course not, but, the fact that we're gonna keep it that country lane feeling is the hope that people will still respect that. And the spots that are really, really, really wide, I am not gonna pave the whole width of the road. And part of that reason is I know some of those spots, the hunt club likes to use as bypasses to get from one trail to the next. So I'm gonna keep those edges of the road open so that they can still use those edges of the road for the horses, because we don't have to go out 30 feet wide with the road. It's a country lane, it's not a major arterial.
And thank you for talking to me today about it, explained a lot.
Yeah, no
Appreciate
problem,
it.
anytime, y'all got my number. Any other questions?
Not any questions, but I mean, more of a conversation for the board at this point, I think. Have we, and I know that through COVID, we got the first set of ARPA money, and we have the second amount of money coming in supposedly, or if it, I don't know, if we haven't, okay. So my question is, why don't we allocate it to, I mean, this seems like a great use for it.
Well, we need to discuss.
I mean, we have to have that,
it.
but I mean, like, as a.
Right now, the Finance Committee is putting together a good list of our priorities, and this obviously may be very well be one of them.
Right. The only thing that I want to check in, excuse me one second, is talking to Mr. Sagliano earlier today, he brought up a good point, is just checking into the previous lawsuit and make sure that whatever that agreement was, it wasn't done in perpetuity, that,
Right.
it wasn't like a forever. And my conversations with the previous superintendent, that doesn't seem to be the fact, but, I'll reach out to the lawyers that were involved and just make sure that we can,
Town clerk should probably have.
So,
Back to your original question. So we have a finance committee that is compiling right now needs, what we're looking at, correct?
Yeah, so when I originally saw this, I kind of looked into the ARPA funding, and it's something we have to look more into.
You mean a use?
What?
If this is a use?
Yeah, because they do allow paving and building of roads, but I think it has to be tied with maybe stormwater or sewer and water things. So there are some.
We can check it out.
And they've changed it stuff, so.
We've changed it a couple of times.
Yeah, so it could potentially be used for that, but we would obviously have to look into that.
So John, it's not out of the question that you
Okay.
get this tomorrow, but we want to do our due diligence on two things. So we're going to find out if
Absolutely.
there's any kind of legal,
just want to double check and
Hold
just
up on
cross
it,
that T and make
right.
sure somebody doesn't come out of the woods and go, wait a minute.
and we'll find out precisely what ARPA
Right.
is used, and we'll put this on the priority list for
Okay.
sure, and we'll go from there.
And as far as drainage and stuff like that, excuse me, that would also help us out with our MS4, because there is some drainage work that we can do to help, mitigate some of the erosion we get up on Ward Road. We got a couple of ponds that water drains in and out of, and with the paving and, kind of re-edging the roads, we can mitigate some of that erosion as well.
Awesome.
Maybe you can get us a list of what you would need to use for that? And
Sure.
how much it might be, so
Um,
that we can check to see if we would be able to use that money for that.
Yeah, I already have the quote from Peckham
Do
of,
you?
of what it
Okay.
would cost for paving, and then, and the other stuff would be, I'd have to go up and get how many of the pipes need to be replaced. I know there's at least 2 that need to be replaced, and there's at least 1 basin that for sure needs to be replaced. And all that can kind of
Okay.
fall into that MS4, drainage, and so, we can use that to our favor.
Okay.
Good work, John, thank you.
We,
problem.
just to remind the board too, we also have an infrastructure reserve fund that we could also look into that
Right.
has a significant amount of money in it. So, and that was designed literally for
For that.
construction, reconstruction of roads and stuff, so,
Okay.
there's plenty of options.
You want to move to the next one, John, while
This-
you're here?
Yeah, the sweeper.
At the podium?
Since we're here.
Can I just add, John, if you
sure.
need us to look at any legal papers, you can reach out to me and I can review it.
Yeah, I was gonna, yep, I have your number, and like I said, Mr. Sagliano brought that up to me today, the kind of light bulb went off, so, again, just wanna make sure we got all those Ts and crossed and Is dotted before we go forward, so. Yeah, so the other thing that we spoke about briefly in the last meeting was the sweeper truck. And the cost of a new sweeper truck is, I'm gonna say around $350,000, because it depends on, obviously, you know, how the prices go at this point. The one that I had priced out was $336,000 and change. So I just kind of rounded up to making an easier number. As of right now, we spend between $50,000 and $60,000 on a rental sweeper truck per year. And that's again, because we have to keep up with our MS4 requirements. We have to suck out 80% of our basins, and we gotta sweep at least 80% of our roads, and all that has to be, you know, listed and categorized, and then Greg and I put the report together, and then he does the report, and so on and so forth. On top of that, there are other times throughout the year we use a sweeper, like we rented the sweeper to clean up the mess down here. He was here for 4 hours, it was $600. I mean, it's a lot of money. So if we were to bond out for a new sweeper, you figure the bond would be probably somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000 a year. I'm just ballparking numbers. So in the course of 6 years, we're not spending really any more money than we're already spending on a yearly basis now. The average lifespan of the sweeper truck, from my understanding from other people that own them, are between 15 and 20 years. So you figure at the end of, and then you figure, once you own the truck, average maintenance is between $3,000 and $5,000, and that's what they call for, you know, like the wearable stuff, you know, the brushes and the tires and the rubber and plastic pieces that just naturally wear. I think that estimate's a little high because they're going on a sweeper truck that's used every single day. Obviously, ours wouldn't be. We can use ours as needed, and we wouldn't be locked into, let's say, a 3 or 4 week window that we are now with the sweeper company, which is great. Greg's been great, and he's been, you know, willing to work with us and everything that's been going on. Excuse me. But we are locked into those windows. So if something happens, if he has a machinery breakdown, Mother Nature doesn't agree with us, COVID, you know, the year of COVID, and, you know, thankfully they kind of gave everybody a pass. We weren't able to make our MS4 requirements because Greg couldn't get somebody to drive the truck because, so there's just all these other things that we have to follow with the whole MS4 thing. If we had our own truck, we could do it anytime we wanted. If we had a semi-rainy, misty day like today, I could send 2 guys out in a truck and say, hey, go up to, you know, Helen Aldridge Park and suck out the basins in the parking lot, or go suck out the basins in the parking lot down here, or pick a road and start cleaning basins, start cleaning streets. In the wintertime, if we get some dry, warm days, I can send the sweeper out to go pick up sand at intersections and roads, something that we can't do now because it costs, well, we can, it just costs extra money. So anyway, that being said, I kind of figured over the course of, say, the 15 years, I'm kind of ballparking for the best case scenario, we'd save somewhere around $360,000 if we owned our own sweeper truck. That includes, so I figured approximately $80,000 in maintenance costs over those extra years that we would own the truck, and that's, you know, forgiving anything major. Even if we did have something major, even if you blew a motor in the truck, you're not going to spend $50,000 that year replacing the motor. I even asked the guy that. What if a motor goes after we're out of warranty? He goes, motors are like 10 grand. Sounds like a lot. It's still not $60,000. So even worst case scenario, we're not going to spend $50,000 or $60,000 maintaining this truck a year that we're already spending to rent a truck that we only have 3 or 4 week access to.
And we're talking a brand new truck, right?
And we're talking brand new truck, so it would come with a 6-year warranty, and the warranty is basically everything but the light bulbs and the wearables. You know, so both, and all these sweeper trucks, they both have 2 motors. One runs the truck, one runs the whole sweeper vac system that would take care of the sweeping, and everything is covered under the warranty. Basically, it's bumper to bumper. Again, like I said, except for light bulbs and wearables, tires, you know, stuff like that. Your average stuff.
Yeah, so just to make sure we're all clear, well, the first thing, the yearly costs that you included in here, does that include, does that take into account your employees? Because obviously, right now, you pay somebody else and they go do it.
Right.
Is that cost having your employees now going?
So the way I kind of look at it is, we pay for the employees, whether they're on a sweeper truck or pushing a broom. So I didn't include that in the cost of running the truck, only because they're there no matter what.
Okay.
You know, so I did not add that into the cost.
And basically, what you're saying is your line item in your budget right now that you use to pay to rent somebody
Would
else
go
to come
to-
in, it basically would cover what you're calculating on paying for this truck.
Right.
So-
It may be a few extra dollars, like I said, it's between like 50 and 60, and that all depends on what kind of contract we get with the company we choose to get the sweeper from. But that's what I'm getting from, and I've checked with the 2 or 3 different sweeper companies, and that's about what we're looking at, you know, to pay for, say, over the course of 6 years, you know, between 50 and 60 grand on a bond. And then after that, we own the truck, and we own it, if we own it for the next 9 years,
Yeah.
you know, there's no way that truck's gonna cost you 50 grand a year to run. It's just not. I mean, you drop it out of a window, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Awesome, thank you.
I'm good.
Anybody else?
No, we're good. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay. Open recreation position for Assistant Recreation Director. Sandra, oh, yeah, she is, okay.
Sandy Cull, Recreation Director. I'm sad to say that Danielle Salzowitz has accepted a Recreation Director position with the town of Washington. She did submit a letter of resignation. She said, "Dear Sandra, please accept my letter of resignation from the position of Assistant Recreation Director effective 2 weeks from today," which was yesterday. So her last day will be Tuesday, September 20th. I have accepted a position with the town of Washington as Recreation Director. I have enjoyed working for Pleasant Valley and appreciate you for your guidance and partnership. I commend you for your strong work ethics and incredible knowledge base. Unfortunately, Pleasant Valley cannot offer the financial compensation appropriate for our positions. I will always respect and value my time with you. During the next 2 weeks, I am willing to help you in any way to make the transition as smooth as possible. So my plan was to advertise on the recreation website and to also send out email blasts. The last round of advertising we did with Indeed, it wasn't worth the money.
Right.
So I think we're probably better off with the town website, the rec website, and email blast. And then we'll have to take it from there. It's a great loss, but I wish her the best
If
of
I
luck.
may, if I may real quickly, congratulations.
Yeah,
And
congratulations, Danielle.
At the same time, our apologies for not having Pleasant Valley up to snuff to keep someone as good as you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for
Danielle. It's
everything you've done.
Mr. Supervisor, just really quick, I'm sorry, I totally forgot my brain. I wanted to, because she mentioned Indeed, so it made me think about it. I wanted to ask the board for permission if I could run an ad in Indeed for the open MEO position that I have. Mary Beth said I could just, she's got her laptop and she's got the ad already, so if we could do it, maybe we'll try to do it for a week and see what happens.
Yeah, it's fine.
You know, I know Indeed's not great, but we gotta try to.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
Second,
I appreciate it, thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Can I say something? I can do an email blast for you too.
Yeah, I'll do the email.
Yeah, that we don't need to approve, though, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
That-
I'll put
yeah.
it up on the Facebook page
Mhm.
and all that stuff, so I just figured we'll try it one more time.
Gotcha. See?
Okay, new printers, fax machine for bookkeeper, town clerk, and supervisor's office. Not sure I need it, but-
I already called Cannon about that.
Okay,
they're gonna get,
so they're gonna get some prices for us and see
Right.
what we're gonna do?
yeah.
All right.
I just need to discuss with you what you really need.
Yeah, me?
Okay, yeah.
I can get up and walk across the hall and make a copy. But there are some facts, I guess, things that they
You,
need
d-
in
you
some of
would
the
need
other
it with the
offices.
facts.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And this
this-
is gonna be a while, because I guess.
Yeah, it's not gonna.
Mm-hmm, it ain't gonna be anytime soon,
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
months away.
yeah.
And just to make sure I'm on the same page with you guys, this is different than the contract, the leased printers that you guys did
Well,
No,
last
we're
it
year?
is
reaching out to the
going-
same
it's-
person, I guess,
Yeah,
so I
it's
guess
getting
what,
added on.
what I was gonna ask was, we're doing this because people, what I'm guessing is people need to be able to fax out of their offices individually?
That's what I got.
That's what
I
I'm
was told.
gathering, I don't,
So are there
No,
leased
they don't need the
printers?
fax. They don't need the fax on it. They only need, they
And what?
really only need,
Printers?
the printer, copier scanner.
So is this stuff that is additional to what was leased last year?
yeah,
In
so I'm
addition, yes,
Okay.
yes.
but I thought the bookkeeper had a new,
No, she has it, it's the assistant.
But the
It's
assistant needs their own printer?
they can't share one?
Well, not the way it's set up, no. Otherwise, it's gonna be
got-
constantly,
We should talk about this.
We'll look into
Yeah,
that.
we should talk about, yeah.
it's gonna be constantly interfering with Melanie's work.
I get she cuts a lot of checks, that I do understand,
Yeah,
that she
so
prints a lot of
she
checks
needs to-
specifically. You
yeah,
know, I
she-
do understand
It's
that.
getting it out of there or getting it in there
Yeah,
separate
we
and
we
isolated.
should have this, yeah, we should,
And the one that's in there is like, I don't even know when they made it.
Yeah, that's 100 years old.
And the
Yeah.
town clerk's office is the same problem,
okay.
is the age of it. And the drums cost more than what it would cost us to rent it for a year.
So,
With
all right.
all the service,
We'll get
and
more
with all
information
the-
on this all together when we get closer and get some things and put it together and find out precisely the needs and go from there.
Yeah,
Prices are important here too.
yeah, I guess it's hard for us to tell what we need.
Yeah.
You know, they gotta, yeah.
So we'll get back to that. Charter Communications Cable Franchise Renewal Agreement. Mr. Plansky, I think you're on.
Hi. So as you know, I have been reviewing the proposed renewal of franchise agreement with Charter Communications. As part of that, I've had discussions with representatives from Charter and told them, after reviewing the agreement and having it also reviewed by the Public Service Commission, I advised them that I had several issues with the terms that I'd like to see changed. What they advised me to do was just make the changes to the contract and send it on to them, which I did. I sent it a little while back and hadn't heard from them, so we followed up. And they told me the other day that they felt they have some pushback on some of the changes that I'm proposing. So I told them to get back to me and let me know exactly what their issues were, and we can discuss it and try to work it out. There's nothing that I put in the agreement that's earth-shattering. To be honest, it's not one of the best agreements I've ever seen, but I think with the changes, we could live with it. As far as I'm concerned, everything we put in there complies with state law. So I'm hoping between now and maybe the next meeting, I'll be able to resolve this with the representatives. Once we resolve the language, I've already sent the agreement on to you. If I have to make any changes to it, I'll resend it to you. And then we can start the public hearing process. We do have to do a public hearing on the agreement as amended. And then assuming that you approve it, it will go up to the Public Service Commission, which could take several months. In the meantime, we still have cable service by state law.
Right.
The old agreement stays in place until it's superseded by a new agreement. So I'll keep you informed.
Do you mind if I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
So I was looking through it, and you've added a lot of great things that I, was happy to see. Under section 5, you added a whole 5.3 in there, and the way I'm reading it, it's kind of, it wasn't there before in the previous one, Am I understanding that correctly, that you're kind of putting limitations on Spectrum or whoever this contract is with, that they can't just, because it's not economical for them, they can't just not provide a service within a certain section of the town unless they can meet some of these criteria to get out of it? Is that what that entire section's about? Because I know that was a big concern when we had our meeting, was that there's folks that have wanted internet or cable and they haven't been able to get that.
Yeah, I think the section you're referring to had to do with providing cable service when there's a certain density of
Yeah.
population. What they did was they had a fairly good density of population provision in the original contract from many, many years ago. They took that out and adopted the minimum standard under the federal regulations, which were, nobody does that.
Okay.
So I've amended that to provide a more liberal requirement for them to provide service when there's a lower density. Maybe they think that the federal regulations are binding, but that's not. All the ones that I've done have that same density requirement, and they had it in their original contract
And they
many
took it
years
out.
ago, so I don't know why they changed it.
Did they get-
We're
did they
certainly
get-
gonna stand fast on that.
Good. Well,
Did that was my question. Did they indicate at all whether they have any room to move there or wiggle or?
I assume they did. I just got a quick response from, by email that was sent to my secretary. We haven't even spoken.
Okay.
So there's always room for negotiation. If I have to bring the Public Service Commission into our discussions, I may do that, but I've never had difficulty in, I've done a number of these, and this is the first one I've had where I've had that type of pushback. So I'm hoping they're just misreading what the law is. And,
Okay.
hopefully by next meeting,
Good.
we'll have it straightened out.
Well, thank you.
Excellent.
And the other big issue is the way they computed our franchise fee. That it's the way they've computed it, it's much less advantageous to the town. So I put a more detailed provision that we've put in other agreements, and most notably with Hyde Park, we just redid theirs, and it should provide a benefit to us in franchise fee income. So we'll see what happens. Hoping that won't
Thank
be
you.
a big problem.
Anything further on Spectrum? Anyone? Helen Aldrich. I guess we're gonna go to Emily, because we had a question earlier, or questions.
Well, Warren actually,
Yeah,
has the
let me
answers.
respond to
Yeah.
that. This is the
Yep.
the woman that had the question, Kathy Krug. So I've gone over the questions that were raised by Ms. Kruger in her email, I believe, of August 4th. And this is regarding a lot merger at the Helen Aldrich Park. There are two lots, and they've now been merged. So the questions that were asked by the resident was, did that merger go through the planning board? And no, it did not go through the planning board. There's a process which allows for the merger of lots that were part of a prior subdivision, and that was created by subdivision to be merged pursuant to the provisions of Real Property Tax Law 560. And that process is, there's an application that's made usually by the town assessor to the Dutchess County Real Property Tax Service for merger of those parcels. It could be two parcels, it could be more than two parcels. And that doesn't go through the planning board, just goes through that, the Dutchess County. And if that's approved, then the properties are merged and does not require planning board approval, and that's what happened in this case. And it was done by the assessor, and it's my understanding that the assessor signed the paperwork, but I believe it was brought before the prior administration for approval. And the reason I understand why they were merged is because of the creation of a new bathroom. The health department required that those lots be merged for size purposes. So that's why that was done. There was a question as to whether that's subject to environmental review under seeker. It's not. it's a type 2 action under seeker, and the prior planning board correctly determined that it's a type 2 action, didn't require seeker review. So I think that should answer all the
The
questions.
prior town board
What
determined.
did I say, town board?
You said planning.
Town board, sorry,
Town
I didn't
board.
mean to-
When the town approved the Helen Aldrich Park project, there was a seeker determination at that time that it was a type 2 action.
So the
Didn't
whole
require-
project was a type 2, which would include the merger. So I hope that answers everybody's question.
I do have one little question. So
Sure.
just to clean things up, because there was one question that came, do we as a board need to make a resolution to actually do that, or like every action needs a resolution type of thing, and I know there wasn't.
I'm assuming that the town board, the prior town board did pass a resolution. I haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to do that.
Okay.
Prior advising the board.
So we
That's
should
what I would
clean that
do.
up and do it that way.
If you want, I can do one
Okay.
retroactively, called nunc pro tunc,
Okay.
approving it retroactively for the record.
Yeah, I mean, like, we did approve a voucher, so I mean, we did approve the payment of it, so,
Right,
you know.
but I'm happy to do a
Yeah, that'd be
resolution
great.
for the next meeting, so.
Okay. All right. Mill Site Pump House.
Okay, I'll take this one, Jim.
Please, that's why you're here.
So the issue here is we have a park located at what's the name of the park?
It's the mill
Mill
site?
Park, the
Yeah.
Mill Park. And as adjacent to the actual park, there is a pump house, a very small pump house. And the question is, the fire department has had an agreement for many years with the town to utilize that pump house for fire safety purposes. And it's my understanding that that's the only thing that pump house is used for. I checked the
Right.
deed into the town to see whether there are any covenants and restrictions which created that pump house as part of the park, and it's not. I looked at the plans for the park that were created by, I think, Pinkelman was the architect, and it's clear that the pump house is not.
Part of the park.
It's adjacent, it's not part of the park. My understanding from empirical evidence and anecdotal evidence is that the park itself has nothing to do with the pump house. It's not open to the public, it's not used for park purposes. And the agreement with the fire department goes back many years, to 2006, I believe. There may be a prior agreement. So the question was, when you have parkland, when you have property that's reserved for parkland, you cannot alienate that parkland by utilizing that property for something other than parkland. So you can't take part of a park and sell it to an entrepreneur to be used for a gas station or something like that. If you want to alienate part of your parkland, you have to get legislative action by the state. There has to be an actual law that's passed, sponsored by one of our representatives, and it's a fairly involved process. And it has to be approved, and it's complex, and there has to be a quid pro quo. You have to provide, if you do alienate the parkland, it's gonna cost the town money. So the question is whether the continued agreement with the fire department constitutes an alienation of parkland. Based upon my review of all the available documentation and the history of the park and the way it's utilized now, I do not feel that it requires an alienation of parkland. So if the town wants to continue its relationship with the fire department, which seemed to be totally to the benefit of the property owners within the town, that can be done without going through the alienation of parkland process, which would probably take over a year if we had to do that.
Okay.
If you're satisfied with that recommendation, the only other issue is that I think the agreement needs to be updated. It's an old agreement, it carried over every 2 years. I have some records of some prior attorneys who raised some issues about paving of the driveway, and I think there was an issue with regard to the sidewalk. So we may want to take a look at that agreement and bring it up to date. And I'm happy to do that. If you tell me who at the fire department I contact, I'll be happy to make contact with them
Right.
and discuss a new agreement and see. if
That's
we can
great.
do something.
So there was a couple other concerns. So one of the things that was mentioned, that there's been great strides, I believe, to getting the pump to work. Because right, currently, it's not working,
Wow,
okay?
that's
And-
a big issue.
Right, that's an issue. And I believe they're making strides into doing so. But part of when they do that, it's been brought up that they may be looking at a generator to also work it when the power goes out. So this pump here is so that we can draw water from the creek. In case there's a fire in the town, they can take water out of it. Well, if you can't draw it out, the pump goes out of power, you need a generator. So then they have to put a generator next to the building that we are in, so we have to reorganize that piece. We have to allot a piece for that, because it's pretty big. It's one of those big ones.
Yeah, I mean, the
It's not a
question would
Polestar
be,
generator.
who
It's,
pays for all that? And
well,
They have a
it's
grant.
them. It's them.
They have a grant. The fire department does,
They have a grant
Okay.
for the pump to get fixed.
but not the generator.
I'm not sure, I don't know, I do, no idea
Okay.
what they do with the
All
generator.
right, so hopefully we can negotiate this in a way that doesn't cost the town any money.
Okay.
Under the old agreement, the fire department was responsible for everything. There may be some pushback on that depending on what the costs are, so I'll make contact with them, if you give me the contact information,
Right.
and then we'll discuss it.
Okay. And I mentioned the other concern I had, which was something else we don't have to go into now. I could take it.
Just send me an email on it.
Yep, I'll send it to you in email.
And the location of the generator we'll need to know.
Very close to
Right
where
next
the
to the
pump house
building?
is.
Okay.
It's almost like the plan is to put it right next to it. I mean, right up, so it shouldn't be too hard. Okay. Bower Park, Michael, you edited it out to the,
Yeah, so I spoke to Emily prior to the meeting to make sure this was okay to bring up out of executive session, but about a year ago, there was a resident, Phil Appuccino, who was speaking to Councilman Mazzella at the time about Bower Park and the soccer program and how Tracy's done a great job getting it going and a lot more people involved. And it came up in that conversation that parking's sometimes an issue over there. And I've seen it myself, you know, going in and out of the road there, especially on a soccer day. People are forced to park on the side and whatnot. So Phil started looking into stuff, and he ended up reaching out to, if we all probably have seen it, but on North Avenue, just past the apartments on the right, there's a for sale sign by the rental properties. And it's a little over 5 acres of land. And the Reddles, Phil had spoken to Frank Reddle, and obviously a lot of stuff has happened over the previous year, so things kind of stalled out a little bit. But Frank Reddle and the Reddle family is willing to donate that almost 6 acres of land there, which actually comes up alongside of the current parking area, the current playground, up to like this small Wappingers Creek there. And I've connected with Frank maybe about a month ago because there was a bunch of misconnections there and whatnot, and he wanted me to bring it back up to the board. And I just wanted to see, I guess, the board, if they were okay, because obviously there's going to be a potential expense with Emily having to work with them to put together to accept the donation. So I wanted to bring up to the board that Frank approached me a couple weeks ago. He's waiting on an appraisal for the property, and he wants to be connected with our attorneys to start the process of potentially donating that land, which could be used for many things. It could expand the parking lot. It could maybe, depending on how it's laid out, add another soccer field, which we've talked many times about West Road not being maybe a long-term thing. So maybe adding an entrance there and making the one an exit. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities, but I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that, and if you guys would give the okay to Emily as a board for her to reach out to Mr. Reddle and start that process.
So this was brought up to me a while back, prior to the deaths in the family, and I was asked to wait until Mr. Reddle came back with an appraisal before we
Yeah.
made any kind of announcement, and I don't know if he's made that appraisal yet.
Well, he reached out to me about a couple weeks ago, and he asked me to bring it
So
up to
that's
the
good
board.
news.
So
That's good.
I
Yeah.
think they're ready to go now that
Okay.
everything's kind of
I
in
think
place.
I
So-
think we authorize Emily to talk to Mr. Reddle about this.
Yeah, so I don't know if we
Yeah.
need a formal motion or anything, but
Why don't you vote?
I'll make a motion
I'll second the motion to
for,
allow.
to allow Emily to,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye. Perfect.
So
Alright.
are they gonna, you'll put us in touch somehow?
I'll just forward you his contact, and I think it's better that you deal with everything, and
Mm-hmm.
it's probably smoother that way.
That's really wonderful of them.
It is.
That's
It really
really
is nice of
wonderful
them.
of them.
It is, and it will actually solve a problem going down the road to Bauer Park if we have an exit out as well. So it would be an excellent
Yeah.
addition, and I'm glad that they've gotten up to do that. That's good. Okay, new business resolutions, approving supplemental memoriam agreement, oh, it's over here, okay.
Oh, it's that agreement with the,
Yep. So this is approving the supplemental memorandum of agreement with Local 456 International Brotherhood of Teamsters. Whereas the Local 546 International Brotherhood of Teamsters, the union, is recognized employee organization representing the certain employees of the town of Pleasant Valley, the town, whereas representatives of the town and the union engaged in negotiations and reached an agreement on the terms and conditions of a successor memorandum of agreement, MOA, to the collective bargaining agreement, the CBA, between the parties covering the period January 1, 2022 to December 31st, 2024, which was approved and passed by resolution number 2002-2022, whereas the town and the union have negotiated a supplemental memorandum of agreement, a copy of which is annexed hereto pertaining to pay for the union member Alan Strang. Now therefore be it resolved that the supplemental memorandum of the agreement between the town and the union attached hereto and incorporated herein is adopted by the town board. It is not the intent of the town board in adopting this resolution to create any right or obligation extended beyond the effective term of the attached MOA or the CBA.
So
Do I hear a
moved.
motion?
I'll second Mike's motion.
Any discussion?
Yes, I want to cover my bases here, because when I asked Emily the same question, voting on a union matter, she was a little shaky, so I recused myself. But since our labor attorney is here tonight, Brooke, I am a former member of Local 456.
Because you're not a current member, I don't think that's an issue.
Okay. I just want to be sure that it's, okay, that I absolutely should not recuse myself from this.
I don't think it's an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That's fine. Okay. Town Board Resolution Number 9002, 2022, authorizing payment of abstract number 9P of 2022. Whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley Town Board has audited the bills presented for the consulate escrow fees as specified by the Town Code 82-15, 98-91, except by the town clerk, and an abstract has been compiled. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to pay all claims as follows. Abstract 9 of 2022, planning zoning escrows invoices $4,044.50. Uh-oh. Do I hear a motion?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Mike, you got your answer as to your question before. What happens when they're training and they get a fire call? That's what happens.
What, who motioned that?
Mike did and Keith seconded it.
Thank you.
Town Board Resolution 9003, 2022, authorizing the acceptance of payments from the Bus Patrol America relating to the Dutchess County School Bus Safety Program. Whereas pursuant to the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law 1174A and Dutchess County Law Number 1-2020, Dutchess County has established a school bus safety program, and whereas the Dutchess County contracted with Bus Patrol of America LLC Bus Patrol to assist the county in implementation of this program, and whereas a means to reduce danger to school children, the program uses cameras on school buses to document vehicles passing school buses and issues citations to those drivers, and whereas both the Arlington and Hyde Park school districts are participating in the program, and citations are being issued to the owners of vehicles documented passing school buses. And whereas pursuant to Dutchess County's agreement with Bus Patrol, a portion of the funds collected from the violators are directed to the municipality in which the violation occurred. And whereas in order to transfer that revenue, Bus Patrol has requested certain documents from the town of Pleasant Valley. Now therefore it be resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute the necessary documents to receive payments from the Bus Patrol. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a s-
Second.
I just have a question. The funds that come in from Bus Patrol, do we know what revenue account or where does that go?
Good question. I don't think we've actually decided as to where we're gonna put it.
I'm just curious, like, what department it go, like, where's that money going?
Well, yeah.
I think for right now, I think it goes into,
Yes, the accountants.
Yeah,
general
they're.
fund, but we should leave it to
I would ask the
RBT.
accountant.
Yes,
RBT, yeah.
RBT. We gotta find out where it can go, first off, before we can figure out where
Like,
where we
one
want
of
it
the
to go.
things, one of the things I had thought of, just as a thought, John, I mentioned this to John a couple of weeks ago, we're replacing all those signs,
Mm-hmm.
each sign. So all the revenue can just almost like go right to, if we wanted to do something like that. But I think we have to come up with.
To figure out how much it is, I mean, there's a lot of variables, but we should set something up as to what it goes
Right.
to.
Yeah, I was
Where
just
you wanna
curious, 'cause I
go,
didn't.
what do you want it to fund, if you wanted to fund anything particular. So,
Who's gonna ask RBT?
I'll ask him, that's fine. I gotta talk to them tomorrow anyway.
I like the sign idea.
Well, just a thought. It was just a, if we had to. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 9004, 2022, establishing the rates for the Pleasant Valley Adult Art Program. Whereas the Town Board of Pleasant Valley intends to offer an adult art program, and whereas the adult art program will provide no less than 4.5 hours of hands-on art painting techniques and skill development. And whereas the town board hereby desires and intends to establish the tuition rates of the adult art program as follows. Pleasant Valley residents, $75, and non-residents of Pleasant Valley, $85. And be it further resolved that these rates shall remain in effect until such time as further changed or modified by the town board. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 9005, 2022, authorizing acceptance of gifts to the town of Pleasant Valley. Whereas pursuant to Town Law 64-8, the Town Board of Pleasant Valley may take by gift, grant, bequest, or device and hold real and personal property absolutely or in trust for parks or gardens, or for the erection of statues, monuments, buildings, or structures, or for any public use upon such terms and or conditions as be prescribed by the grantor or donor and accepted by said town, and provide for the proper administration of the same. And whereas the Town Board of Pleasant Valley has received an offer of a donation, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of Town Pleasant Valley, on behalf of all the residents of Town of Pleasant Valley, hereby gratefully accepts the donation as specified below. From Susan Amon, of 31 Mountain Drive, Pleasant Valley, to donate 1 foosball table. I used to love playing foosball.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I make a motion to allow Resolution 9006 of 2022 on the agenda.
Yeah, right.
I'll second that.
So is this, yeah, right, this is the,
Yep.
right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So Town Board Resolution 9006/2022, appointment of Town Pleasant Valley Recreation Leader. Whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley intends to operate various programs upon its open to its residents and members of the public. And whereas there currently exists a vacancy for the position of Recreation Leader, PT, and whereas Mina, is it Mina or Minna? Mina Park has expressed interest in being appointed as Recreation Leader, part-time for a maximum of 20 hours per week. And be it further resolved that the Town Board of Pleasant Valley does hereby designate and appoint Mina Park as Recreation Leader, part-time for the maximum of 20 hours per week with a probationary period of 6 months at the rate of $17.25 per hour, starting September 12th, 2022. And resolve, the town supervisor and the town bookkeeper are hereby authorized and directed to file any and all documents necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. I make a motion that we allow Resolution 9007 of 2022 on the agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 9007/2022, establishing the rates for the Pleasant Valley Basketball League. Whereas the Board of Town of Pleasant Valley hereby desires and intends to establish the tuition rates for the 2022-2023 basketball program as follows. Pleasant Valley residents, $100 for the first child, $80 for the second child, and $70 for the third child, additional child. Non-residents of Pleasant Valley, $110 for the first child, $90 for the second child, and $80 for the third and additional child. And be it further resolved that these rates shall remain in effect until such times as changed by further resolution by the town board. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to allow Resolution 9008 of 2022 on the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Strengthening employee resources. Town Board Resolution 9008/2022, strengthening employee resources. Whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley, the town, continues to be committed to providing a comfortable and supportive work environment for all its employees and those that it serves. And whereas the Town Board has also consulted with the board's labor and employment attorney regarding the resolution of the confidential personnel matters. Whereas the town is committed to responding promptly to any and all employee concerns regarding proper workplace behavior and environment. Whereas, although many discussions within executive session are kept confidential, in the interest of transparency and to promote robust communication within the community pertaining to the importance of promoting a healthy work environment for the town employees without waiving attorney-client privilege, the town wishes to disclose portions of the contents of a discussion that it with the town's labor and employment attorney with respect to cultivating increased productive workplace communication between the members of the staff, members of the town board, and the addition to the amount of personal resources available overall to its employees. The town board has reviewed its workplace discrimination and retaliation policies and has discussed measures to ensure continued compliance with the policies, as well as additional measures that the town may wish to take in the future to ensure that all employees continue to feel supported and comfortable in their work environment, and has authorized its labor employment attorney to take any further action needed to resolve the same. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board has determined that it would be in the best interest of the town board to employ the services of an outside human resource consultant to conduct a workshop on healthy, respectful, and understanding workplace communication for both members of the town board and employees, contingent on approval of fees for said services in further resolution. Be it further resolved that the town board has also agreed that the town will endeavor to hold an event such as a lunch or other team-building exercises once a quarter for the staff and for the town board to strengthen the relationship with one another. Be it further resolved that the town board will endeavor in the coming months to strengthen and increase the resources available to its employees in response to any personnel questions and inquiries, which will include revising its current employee handbook and other such resources as personal documentation. It will also further explore the possibility of creation of an expansion of an employment position as permitted under applicable civil service laws pertaining to human resource and management. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And that's that. Okay, so this is the public hearings, right? Okay. That's done. Okay, so we have an affidavit of posting. I, Mary Beth, duly appointed the town clerk. Isn't it elected town clerk? Why is it appointed?
It's the terminology. She was elected.
Town
but-
clerk of the town of Pleasant Valley, Dutchess County, New York, hereby certify that a notice regarding a public hearing pertaining to local law repealing Chapter 95 and amending Chapter 98, Section 98-34 of the Town Code with regard to the outdoor storage of junk motor vehicles to be held on the 19th day of September at 7:05 p.m. was posted on the signboard at the entrance of the office on the 7th day of September 2022, and also at the post office in Pleasant Valley, the post office in Salt Point, and on the bulletin board in the Pleasant Valley Firehouse. Further due notice has been published in the town's official newspaper, the Northern Dutchess News, on the 7th day of September 2022. So that's the 19th, you all know that. Affidavit of posting. I, Mary Beth Muir, duly appointed the town clerk of the Pleasant Valley, Dutchess County, New York, hereby certify that a notice regarding public hearing pertaining to a local law establishing Chapter 96 of the Town Code regulating grass maintenance at vacant and abandoned properties to be held on the 19th day of September at 7:15 p.m. was posted on the signboard in the entrance of the office, 7th day of September 2022, and also post office in Pleasant Valley, the post office in Salt Point, and on the bulletin board in the Pleasant Valley Firehouse. Further due notice has been published in the town's official newspaper, the Northern Dutchess News, on the 7th day of September 2022. Okay. And that concludes our new business resolutions. We did the items for special consideration. All business discussions. By the way, just to let you know, I've been trying to observe the bus stops. Okay.
Have you noticed the,
Huh?
go ahead.
So the bus stops is still on our thing. So we do actually have one right in front.
No, I know,
And
yeah.
they actually stop at it.
Yeah.
Right at the sign. And they do let people off right in front of the town hall, so
Yeah.
that was one. And I did ask the lady who sits in front of Acme parking lot,
Yeah,
and she just likes to sit there.
yeah.
So, okay, that was all I wanted to bring up with that.
So we actually,
Okay.
there's a couple people at the county that were away on vacation. So we have a Zoom call this Friday at 10:30 a.m. and with Legislator Houston and a few county employees, the one gentleman who's in charge of the bus system for the county. And basically, the point of the meeting is to, if you compare the map on the website for the county compared to the actual bus stops in the town, they don't line up. We have extra bus stops. So we just, basically, my goal leaving that meeting is to be on the same page with them of, are these where they're gonna stay? Or, did you know that all these are here? Because we have the bus stop here, which is
Right.
actually the correct bus stop on the map, but then you have a bus stop in front of, the Rental Plaza there, which is not listed on any of the maps, but there's a sign there. So, and then the other conversation is maybe, okay, well, if they're planning on moving them maybe to line them up with the map, maybe they can move them to where there's already benches within the town. So I will have an update hopefully by the next town board meeting.
But it's funny when you bring it up and then you're
You
not
start
thinking
noticing.
about it. Huh?
You start noticing it.
You start noticing.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing to watch and where people actually sit and they walk to it or what they're doing. It's pretty funny. Changing the name to Field 2 to Howe Park is still in holding. We're still waiting for the sign.
Do we have an update on the sign?
Nope. Still waiting. When he says it's ready, he'll call us. RFP for the well drilling at Helen Aldrich Park closes September 15th. I don't believe we have anything in just yet. Right. Recreation Director, okay, got that. Public hearing for the local laws, we just did that, and that's done. Okay. Business resolution. Open a meeting to public. So at this point in time, we're going to move to open the meeting to the public for any new items, anything other than the items on the agenda, anything new.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone?
There's a button on
There's a
on the
button on
mic,
it.
if you could just, there you go.
Hi,
There you go.
I'm Valerie Hovasapien. I live on Robinson Road in Salt Point. And I do have something that's been talked about at other board meetings, but I was listening to the meeting. Congratulations, it sounds much better. But I wanted to run over here. I missed the open mic time about the paving of the roads. And my question of Warden Clinton is, what is the process gonna be for the decision? Like, when will it be made? Who makes it?
So, you weren't here earlier, correct?
I listened to
Oh,
it,
you
but
did?
it wasn't clear to me when, like, if it was going to be voted on, if it was just gonna be part of a workshop discussion, and it was like discretionary. It sounded as if the highway superintendent hadn't talked to all the people who live there yet. And I don't live there specifically. I walk around there very regularly, so I'm really familiar with those roads. And as most people know, there's a lot of large horse farms. It's not just the hunt. It's like people who live there who have horses, who ride their horses on those roads. So I would be interested to know how they feel about it. And from an expense perspective, you know, I understand, but if you were to project that out, that's basically, if they're paying $25,000 a year now to maintain those dirt roads, you know, $345,000 or $350,000 is like 14 years worth of maintenance. So that is fairly close to the 20 years down the road when the road would be okay. So that's just a comment.
Okay, so the process is, well, first, we're gonna identify as to whether or not that is gonna be something that we would like to fund, and where we would get those funds from. So I think that's step one. So we as a board would probably have to identify that first. Then we go from there. If it's something that we can certainly afford to do, then we take it to the next step, which should be to get to the real numbers more closer to what would actually be. And then we would decide as a board as to whether we go forward with that. And we would have to vote on it, and we, the board, would have to make that decision.
Okay, thanks. And my other question had to do with the new road signs. I know that it was mentioned, I had to go back, and there was a meeting in April where it was briefly mentioned, you know, for 2 minutes. The design, it was sort of presented as not accepting input. It was just sort of like a fait accompli. And, so now they're gonna start transitioning these signs, and, they obviously don't have the same rural character as the old signs do, which I understand. I just wanted to understand the process. I mean, maybe it's just part of a discretionary budget, and because it wasn't a large budget item to start with, it's just, but now we're gonna be locked into these signs. They look exactly like the town, almost like the town of Poughkeepsie signs, except for, those don't have a black border on them, but, they're just very different than the old signs, and I understand the old signs are probably a lot to keep up with. I didn't even know it was an issue.
So the old signs weren't actually to DOT code anymore.
Right.
So once they're due for replacement, they are required to be replaced with something that is up to DOT code.
I understand that, but I also heard that the DOT hadn't actually come out with all their code, that it was just, this was like in advance of that they were gonna require, it's known that they'll need to be reflective, or,
If I could, I'm the highway superintendent, I'm John.
Hi.
It's a pleasure. The signs are already not DOT compliant, and when they come out with the updated laws, they're gonna be even further outside of DOT compliance. So right now, we're in a rough spot even now with the signs as they are. So we have to replace them, we really don't have any choice.
okay, I mean, I understand about compliance. Does that mean they come and fine the town? Is that what that?
Well, what it means is it holds us liable if somebody has an accident and they determine that the person couldn't see the road sign and that's the cause of why they had the accident, then the town could, really be in trouble ultimately.
Right, I just wondered if there would have been some other way to make them reflective and still be similar to what they currently look like.
So these are done by a sign company that specifically does road signs all over the country. It's called Renewal. And I sat down with the guy and I brought the signs to the town board, and keeping the white signs with the black border was the closest thing that we could come up with that would fit within a reasonable budget to replace the signs. Today it would cost us $500 a piece because they're expensive even as they are.
Right, no, I understand. It just seems like every other expenditure gets talked about a lot, so I was just surprised that that's been talked about very little.
Sometimes we have to think things through a lot more because, for whatever reasons, but sometimes when we have to comply by law or whatever reasons, it goes a little quicker.
Okay, I mean, it's just the thing that's important one of the things that's important to me in this town is keeping the rural characteristics of it, and like its farming heritage and just the general rural nature. That's why a lot of us live here, so.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
John, I actually meant to tell you earlier, I noticed those new signs at the four corners of Pine Hill, Hurley Creek, and Scout. I love them. The visibility is so much better in the pitch dark.
When we first put them up, I was a little jarred by the actual size, and I was like, wow. And then I actually came through on a foggy night, and I'm like, wow, what a difference.
Yeah, because there was that old wooden
The
four-corner
looked
thing,
like
and
the crossroads for the Wizard of Oz.
and it was only like 2.5 feet off the ground, and
Yeah, it was
you
nice.
couldn't see it from every angle. Now your guys did a wonderful job of putting those up.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they took them some time to kind of make sure we got the angle right. And I stood in that intersection with Mike from Glencoe Supply for the better part of 2 hours going, how are we gonna make this intersection work? Because nothing's straight. They all come in and
Yeah.
out, but.
Yeah, it came out good. Thanks.
Yeah, you pulled it off.
Yeah, thank you. My guys did a good job. Thank you.
Anybody else?
The sign discussion is interesting. Let me just give you a history lesson. When I was supervisor, Central Hudson came to me because we were the last town in Dutchess County that it had incandescent bulbs for street signs, street lights, and they told me we can't have them anymore. I fought it as long as I could, but so there are things that come up that get rid of
Yeah.
what was here.
Safety usually overrides everything.
Yeah.
That's number one.
I'm really perplexed with the articles I've been reading on new teaming. I can't understand how the town got excluded for 15 years. And it remains a private park under the jurisdiction of the soccer club. That it had, I had no idea that that's the way that was going with such a long contract. It does affect the town of Pleasant Valley. Traffic will increase to go up there, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, we've
I'm
already
not
gotten
going
complaints.
into all that. But I'm very disappointed that the town did not receive due consideration in any of those items. The other thing is just a matter of, I listen, you nicely allow us to speak about items on the agenda. After your discussion, I had a lot of questions on the items on the agenda. I sit there, but that's over and we're done. I don't know how you can correct that.
So,
Mainly, you know,
Maybe we just
you
open it
come
once
up
at the
with,
end for everything.
for everything,
It's
instead of
just once in the beginning, once at the end.
So it's
Just open at the end for everything.
we
Your
can.
questions, your new concerns, everything.
Here's the idea of this way we kind of did it. So in the past, you didn't have any chance at all. Things were happening. So we kind of open it up to where you get to say your piece. So it's our hope that the folks do their homework and come to the meetings, and they look at the agenda and they find out what they need to find out, or they form their questions and whatever they come up with, and then they post it to us. That part of the process is really to help us formate our opinions. It's added into our opinion already. So we then discuss, we take what you've said, we discuss what we're talking about in a workshop discussion, all right? Anything that we did a resolution on has already been talked about. So we've talked about all the things that we resolved tonight, with exception of some of the things that came in last second, which is needed. But for the most part, the posting of the code changes and the approval of the local Teamsters thing, contract, and the bus thing, those things were discussed already. Let me just figure, I'll get to
I
that.
understand that. And
So then after that's over with, okay, you know, we talk about those things, and then we go move on to something new. So you may bring something up that's totally different, and we can add it to the agenda the next time.
So,
Okay, Michael.
so I was actually kind of confused about this too, and I agree with Gary, Mr. Veters. So the way I always looked at it was, and it might be something that we could try at the next meeting, is new business only. So like, obviously the old business discussion, the resolutions that we just passed, like, we've been talking about the old business. So Mr. Veter, probably from the last meeting, we've talked about this under maybe new business, so he would have some idea of what to get up in the beginning to talk about. But all these new business discussion items, most likely are the first time that any of us, I mean, even me, sitting up here, have discussed. So I don't see anything wrong with, okay, they just heard 11 items that none of us have discussed before. At the end, maybe he has a great idea of, okay, well, his opinion on a sweeper truck and maybe a different idea on it. And then, yes, at next meeting, it would be under old business, and he would have a chance to speak in the beginning, but he wouldn't speak about it again at the end, because then he would have two chances. But I do see his point of.
Look,
the
I
new
have
business
no
part.
I have no
problem
problem with, I mean, like.
changing it. I mean, it just.
Well, it's not really even a change, because if you look at the parentheses,
It literally says new business, and it was a new business item, so go ahead, Gary. We're telling you to go ahead, is the long, short of that.
I appreciate the changes because it is better than
So then we just open to the public in the beginning, and we can
No,
open
but
to the
go
public
ahead
at
with
the
your
end?
questions.
No, I think you keep doing what you're doing.
Keep what we're doing,
what
but
you're
this,
doing.
this does, if you, pause for 1 second, because I want you to ask your questions, is what I'm getting at. It literally says new business, which is the new business
the new
discussion,
business
so we're
discussion.
including new business. We're including, like, new business.
Well, this would be something, if you had an idea or something that you wanted to bring that's not being mentioned, That's what I understand it to be. But that's
I guess
fine.
we're getting by it logistically is what we're saying for Gary to ask his questions. Go ahead, Gary.
I'm good.
I knew he was gonna do that.
I saw the setup. I saw the setup coming. Anybody else? Anything special? Go ahead.
Again, I didn't get all my questions answered that I had written, so I wanted to clarify that because I did wait a long time for these answers. And there had been mistakes done at Helen Aldrich Park with, what fund we were taking money and so forth. So I think it behooves us to make sure that everything is done correctly. Were the property deeds reviewed by the town attorney for any deed restrictions before they were merged?
I'm gonna send that down to this side of the table.
They wouldn't know that. They weren't our town attorneys at the time.
Well, you can still check into it. I mean, that was my question I asked a month ago. I was just hoping.
I guess functionally, though, they're paid by us to represent us. They're not paid to answer everyone's questions, right? So.
What kind of deed restriction would apply to a merger?
I have no idea.
Well, that would.
I don't know, but all I'm saying is they wouldn't know the answer because they weren't our town attorneys at the time. I'm assuming that Paul Ackerman would have looked into it, but I don't know.
Either
we
do
can
I.
do that. We can do the legwork for you on that.
Yeah, just to make sure. And then at the last meeting, you said everybody signed
A voucher.
in the assessor. Who's everybody?
The board.
The board signs a voucher
The board signs the
to
vouchers.
make payments.
No. In the
Yeah, we do.
the merger, the piece of paper, whatever, in the assessor's office. Who all signed that?
The assessor, I'm assuming.
The assessor signs it,
And who else? Just the assessor?
and the county signs it.
And the county signs it, according to Warren.
Because to me, everything usually is done, number one, by first getting a resolution. We never had that. Now you're talking about backpedaling and doing it, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that we're going back and doing things backwards when we should have done it correctly the first time around.
Okay, so we've identified a couple things, right? I'm gonna yield again. Go ahead, Emily, it's all yours. Or-
Yes, well, I don't want to speak for Warren. Warren reviewed everything, as he said before, and the only thing that has come up that we said that we would address is doing a retroactive resolution to make it clear that the board directed that merger to take place. It's a merger of tax parcels. It's not something that goes to the planning board, and so we can do that retroactive resolution.
Can I ask, is the let's say we were doing this with two properties tomorrow. I mean, in all reality, from the way Warren explained it, we could go back and retroactively put together a resolution to do that formally, but is that required? I mean, is this normal stuff that happens normally in municipalities that they do? Or is that something that should have come before the board and it didn't, and now we'll go back and do it? Or is it more of a formal thing that we're just doing to do?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure whether there was a resolution when they did this. It's not that big a deal. But I can check to see if we have any record of a resolution. But we're doing it retroactively just to satisfy concern of the taxpayer. It's really not necessary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just feel it's a shame that the town didn't know anything about it. And we should.
In
Anyone-
response to that last comment, the town did know, we did sign a voucher to pay for this. We did
Yes.
talk about this. This is not something we haven't talked about, Kathy.
When was it?
All right,
The prior, last year.
We heard about a merger and the lands were.
Mr.
Yeah,
Supervisor, if she's going to speak, she has to go to
yeah,
the
I
microphone,
think you
please.
gotta get back to the podium. If you're gonna go speak, we gotta have it for the record.
I just want to clarify, all we're talking about here is an administrative merger of tax parcels for land that isn't subject to tax. So
Correct.
it's not, it doesn't affect any type of planning or zoning or any issue like that.
I guess that's my confusion too, why, I mean,
Why didn't we know anything? Why, I mean, we have resolutions for everything you do in this town, so why wasn't there ever a resolution, and why didn't we, the taxpayers, ever know about it?
We can't answer what happened back then. We're just, you know, it's,
We don't know, we
Right.
weren't here. I can't answer.
So it just sounds
If I
like,
were doing it today and new, we would have done a resolution. So we're trying to rectify that by doing the resolution new approach.
can,
Okay, I think the point has been made, we can move on. Did you want to add something? Okay.
no, I was just gonna, like,
The
what,
point's been made.
yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything new? Anything else? Not seeing or hearing? I move that we close the meeting to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move that we go
To executive
to
session?
executive session 105.1F.
we also need to discuss litigation in the executive session,
Ah.
just tax certiorari.
Okay.
But you should mention that as well. And
Okay.
there may be another topic that would be under the category of an attorney-client
Okay.
session.
Okay.
Is that accurate?
So,
Or
we'll be here for a while, folks.
Yeah,
Who's second?
I seconded that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's fine. It's fine.
Kill your mics.
Should we do the other discussion in an attorney?
like a
She was here for so long.
motion to come out of executive session.
Second?
So made.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'm going to make a motion that we add something to the end of the agenda, because we just spoke about it. We have a judge vacancy, so I make a motion that we add that to the end of the agenda.
So moved. Second?
Mike said, I think some,
Second.
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the resolution is, we need a number. What's the one?
Oh, shit.
9100, because we didn't break the hundreds yet.
Nope, 9100.
So 9100, whereas there exists a vacancy in the Pleasant Valley Town Judge, as David Sears just resigned, and whereas we are desirous of filling that position, so we've spoken, and so there be it resolved that we appoint Jeff Battistoni to the remaining term, which expires December 31st of 2023. I need a second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you'll call Jeff in the morning, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Are we gonna do the other one? Oh, we're gonna wait.
We're gonna wait for, yeah, let's wait.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.